I'm going to tell you a few stories, Mr. Maxwell, about things that happened to me. I'll start off by this one particular story. One night I went to sleep and I had this vivid dream, very vivid. And I think it wasn't a dream actually, I had been taken somewhere. And where I was taken was, I was taken to a place where there was like a big hangar. This looked like a big giant hangar. But in this giant hangar, there was a German scientist with long hair, kind of eccentric looking.
Yeah.
And he had a clipboard and he had a lab coat. And he kept, I was looking at what was going on there. And in there, just like the dry cleaners, they have this chain that takes all the clothes around the whole thing. Well, in this big giant hangar, there was a chain, not a chain, but something was going around like that, around this big giant hangar. But there was these bodies, these extraterrestrial bodies with these football helmet heads, but they didn't have a skull cap. It was like a hood of a car, how you open the hood? Well, it was like that without the skull cap. And these bodies were on this rail that was going around this big place, like a big giant clean room. And all the bodies looked the same, like they were cloning this big army. And this one spot didn't have a body, and it came, and there was a stairs, about 3 stairs. They went boom, 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 and it was about this big, and it stopped right where there wasn't a body, right there on the stairs. And the German scientist, he was so happy to have me there, but he kept telling me, "What do you think about the work?" I thought it was great. And he got ecstatic that I thought his work was great. Then he looked at that space and he said, "Would you like to go up there?" I said, "Sure." So I walked up the stairs, I put myself under that rail, and I was going to say, "There's nothing happening," but I only got to say, "There's nothing," and then boom, it lifted me up, and I went into a virtual reality. And in this virtual reality where I went was to a scene of an old German World War II battle scene. And we were fighting with Germans that were on a ridge, but we were getting the best of them in this particular battle. And then all of a sudden, just like a channel change, I went to another place where I was on, but it was a World War II again, and I was the head of a special forces suicide mission type of unit, and we were hitting a research facility. And in this research facility, there was a clearance, a big long clearance of nothing, and then this building, So we had to get across that clearance. So when we were going across this clear zone, all the floodlights came on, and it was like daytime.
Yeah.
And the guys that I was with, the young guys, they were saying, they're saying, "What are we gonna do?" And I said, I had to tell them, I said, "Just don't get captured alive." That's all I could tell them. So from that scene, where did I go? Oh, from there, just like the channel changed, I was talking to terrestrials, right? And they said, "Robert, are you the chosen one?" And I said, "Yes, I'm the chosen one." "Are you willing to prove to us that you're the chosen one?" I said, "Yes, I'm willing to prove it, but Robert, we're going to put you through a test. And if you're not the chosen one, you're going to die. Are you still willing to prove that you're the chosen one?" I said, "Yes." So they said, "What we're going to do is put you on a platform, like a potter's wheel, a big potter's wheel. we're going to put you way up there. And this potter's wheel is going to start turning. And we want you to move around and dance or do whatever you can. And we want you to dance and jump around or whatever. And if that if the potter's wheel spits you out, then you're not the chosen one and you'll fall at your death. But if you are the chosen one, it won't spit you out. So it took me up there and they spinned it and they started getting faster, faster, and I'm just dancing, jumping around. And I'm tripping on this magnetic force field that's coming around, keeping me from not being spit out or being unbalanced, put it that way. And then it stops and they come for me on this ship. I'm up here and they come for me on this ship. And they're going to retrieve me. But I was kind of pissed off at them because they put me through the test. So I put them through a test. I threw myself backwards off the potter's wheel. I threw myself off. And you could see they got startled, but they caught me somehow or whatever. And they told me, we had a feeling you were going to do that. And so I only did it to get back at them for putting me through a test. I put them through a test themselves. And that was one of the stories that happened. And then I felt it was really real. It was really real. I went through that. Another story, which one did you want me to tell?
Well, just referencing, because Jordan mentioned the angel story that he had. And it reminded me of what you mentioned about that one guy.
Yeah, me and my girlfriend, we went into a small nightclub. And they had a band, and it was crowded. And so there was one gentleman standing like that at the bar. He had 2 empty seats next to him. Mm-hmm. They're the only 2 empty seats in the house. I said, anybody sitting here? And he goes, no. Sit down. So, my girlfriend sit down. And we introduce ourselves. And he says, hey, can I buy you guys a drink? I said, sure. So he bought us a drink. And when he had these tight jeans, and I seen him reach in his hands, because I was sitting there and he was sitting like right here, and then he's standing right there, and he reached in his pocket, and he pulled out this thing like a green cabbage.
Like what?
Like a green cabbage.
Oh, yeah?
Like a real green cabbage, right? And I said, how in the hell did he do that? Pull that out of his pocket. And then he went like this, and he grabbed one of the things, and he went like that, and it sounded like a crisp, brand new dollar bill, right? And he paid, and it was 100, right? And then he put that cabbage back, and lady came and gave him the money, his money back, change. So I said, hey, Angel. His name was Angel. I said, Angel, you can't be whipping out that. If that was money, I just somehow got confused with cabbage. There's people in here who wait for you outside and they'll rob you. Don't worry about it. So he grabbed me by the shoulder. Well, my girlfriend went to talk to her friends, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he said, Robert, my name is Angel, and I'm your angel. And God sent me here to tell you something. I said, well, what did he send you here to tell me, Angel? He goes, well, he sent me here to tell you he loves you very much. But he also said that you have 2 choices, make the right choice. I said, okay. I said, what if I make the wrong choice, Angel? He said, well, if you make the wrong choice, then you're going to go down and I'm going to have to go down with you. I said, why would you have to go down with me if I made the wrong choice? He goes, because I'm responsible for you. So I said, okay, Angel. I said, don't worry about it. I'll make the right choice.
Yeah, make sure I make the right one.
I'll make sure I make the right choice. So, There was something else he said. That was my angel story. I really ran into an angel. Yeah. Oh, my girlfriend, he was standing right there and she reached over and got his baseball cap, right? And started to pull it off. Well, from here to here, he looked young. But when I seen the cap kind of come off, from here to here, he looked like an ancient old man. And he put it on right away, but he knew I kind of saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, Terry. I said, I'm sorry for what my girlfriend does. She tried to do this, see how handsome you are, or something like that. Terry was a big flirt. And he got mad at somebody in the bar, and I seen fire come out of his eyes. I did. Like, not come out, but his eyes were like fire. And that's my angel story. So I went to school and I did a series of things on angels. I was taking pictures of angels, and one girl from India, I told her that story, and she goes, I go, I don't know if I made the right choice. She goes, that's simple. I go, what do you mean? She goes, have you seen them yet? Again? I go, no. He goes, then therefore you made the right choice. Otherwise he'd be coming to see you again. And so there's been a number of things that I've seen. I don't know if did I tell you about the Halloween story?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Before I go to the Halloween story, I got this other one. I used to go in the backyard. I had a house with a front yard, backyard in Alhambra. So I was going to the backyard with my camera, and I had a radio back there, so I turned on the radio. But somehow, this DJ came on, but somehow I knew it was the terrestrials acting like a DJ, but they do a great job, right? But something paranormal, that's not a DJ, that's them. And then he did something humorous. He goes, are you outside with your camera looking for UFOs? That's exactly what I was doing. And then he says, I got a special song to play for you. And he put it on. I never heard this song. But it was about a place like Shangri-La with no envy, no hate, no nothing, but just true love. And the DJ's asking me, do you want to go? We'll take you there. And I said telepathically, no, if I can't take everybody with me, no, I don't want to go. But they actually did that for me. And I know how they can do those things, just miraculously. And so, what was that story you wanted me to share?
I think that was it. Did you have an angel story?
Oh, no, I got one more. On Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving, on Halloween one night, I set up the whole front porch with all this sound and all this stuff. And I lived in an Asian community where most of them don't trick or treat, but there would be enough kids coming up the street and they would trick or treat. So we packaged candy bags like this with good candies, you know. And then this girl comes up, and she's about 12 years old, but she looks American Indian. She's about this big. And she's kind of heavy set. And she's got a little guy like this big, and he's dressed up in an extraterrestrial outfit. And he's got this mask that looks like real opal that belongs in a museum. A most beautiful mask that's throwing out colors and all that. And right here on his chest, he has a upside down triangle like this. And it's red, and then in the center it's got a yellow line going like that around it. And he's walking, but he has a physique like a little gymnast. And he looks like he's in charge of her. But she doesn't have a costume, and he doesn't, or this terrestrial doesn't say one word. So I gave him a bag of candy, and I was a drinker, right? So I was drinking beer that day.
Yeah.
Smoking cigarettes and drinking enough beer. And I knew he was a terrestrial, yet I have all these cameras and I didn't film him. But he was looking at me like this. Little person just looking at me like this the whole time. And I gave him 3 bags of candy because I told him how nice his outfit was and everything. But if I would have just took a picture, one picture. But they can do things. If they don't want the picture, they can make you not take a picture. And what a time to come and visit me where nobody would pay attention because he's dressed like an extraterrestrial.
If you take a picture with them there, does the picture show them there?
I didn't take a picture.
Oh.
Wish I would have took a picture. There's a lot of things that I did that I wish I could go back to and really do. Would be super great. But that really happened. He was and I knew he was an ET. And the way he looked at me like a little child looking at his dad, and it was so beautiful. Maybe perhaps I have one more story, short story. Oh, this is a good story.
Is your mic on?
Yes.
Okay, this story, I was in the back with my camera, which was a Nikon 800 or something like that. And I saw something up there in the sky. I scanned the sky, and it was like a jet fighter, but it was a UFO. And it was a triangular one, but it had a spoiler in the back, like that. And then it had just a cockpit. And as I'm zooming in with my Nikon, right, I could see that the pilot in there had just like our jet pilots, he had a helmet with a face shield. But it was looking aggressive at me. And underneath the belly, it had this, what I determined was a nuclear bomb on the belly. And it had this red little light on it, what looked like a nuclear bomb. And so it was, I couldn't understand why they were being aggressive with me. But at that time I was taking pictures of everything. And then behind me, as I'm taking pictures of this jet black UFO fighter, behind me I'm looking up there and there's about 7 more, but higher, a lot higher. And all of them are the same exact model as this one, but they're different colors. And that really happened. So when I went and I downloaded the photos of this, what I just saw, I never got them. I believe that the government was already intercepting my computer and would take things that they didn't want me to have.
Yeah.
They were already doing that.
That's probably true.
Yeah, it is true. Because one time I came into my computer in my room, and you know how they say don't go into the programming or you'll mess up your computer? Well, I went into the programming and I saw this one thing that said, camera on the windowsill. So I hit that program where it said camera on the windowsill, and I'm looking at my back and me looking at my monitor, and it's coming from the windowsill. So I go to the windowsill and I'm looking for this camera and I can't find it. I can't find it. Looking everywhere for it. It's showing me right there and I can't find it. And so it also said another thing, my dogs killed a cat in the backyard. Had a police dog and a boxer like this one. And they killed this cat and I went in the cat to get the cat. And so I used this big steel thing and I kind of swept him in there. He was still alive screaming. But it sounded like a bunch of metal broken up. Like his body was full of metal broken up. Sounded like that. Not like bones, like metal. So I went and I dropped him off somewhere in a box and everything where I knew he would get help. But I didn't want to call the shelter because, or the police, because then they'll blame me and my dogs. So when I was looking at the camera on the windowsill, it already had another program that said, can't replace the cat. Yeah, it said, can't replace the cat. So those were two incredible things. And this cat used to come by my window and you know, go, wow. And I said, damn, just not a normal cat, you know. But it was either government or extraterrestrial. And I guess they couldn't replace them that easily. Wow. My dogs tore them all up. But those are some of the stories that I had to share. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of strange things happen to me too. Very strange. But one time I was in San Diego, and I was working at this big publishing house, and I was writing a book, and my editor was editing the book for me. And he lived in Orange County, and so he would come down to San Diego on the weekend and stay with me in my 2-bedroom condo and help me with the book.
Mm-hmm.
And one night he was in the other bedroom and I was sleeping on my right side, and I woke up, but I didn't open my eyes. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, but I didn't open my eyes for some reason. But I was hearing fire. I could hear fire crackling. And I was concentrating in my mind to see if I was smelling smoke. There's no smoke, no smelling of smoke, but just a fire. You could hear it. So I opened my eyes, and when I did, I yelled. I jumped back and yelled. Because when I opened my eyes, there was an angel in my bedroom. It was his. He was almost touching the ceiling. He was so big. Beautiful angel, beautiful wings, lit up, but you couldn't see his face. And he had a sword, but the sword was a crackling fire. It was a blade, it was just a long fire blade. And he had it aimed right at me between my 2 eyes. And when I woke up, I saw the sword and it scared me. And I jumped. And then my friend in the other bedroom, he comes in and said, what was that all about? I said, you're not going to believe what I saw in my bedroom. I saw an angel with a sword of fire. And he had it right at between my eyes. And now today I know that was what, the angel with the sword of fire is not Gabriel, but which one was of the
Michael.
angels?
Michael?
Yes. Michael. Yeah, Michael carried a sword of fire. Well, I had that sword of fire pointed right at
Wow.
But I understood symbolic. I understood the symbolism.
Yeah.
It was as he was appointing you to do something.
Yeah.
And this is why the queen will put the sword on one shoulder and put it over on the other shoulder. The symbolism is saying, I'm appointing you to do something for me.
Right.
Now the next time you come in here, if you didn't do it, I'm going to put the sword on this shoulder and I'm going to move it to the other shoulder. But I'm going to cut your head off.
Yeah. Well, something similar like that happened to me. I was in my room and I woke up and I looked over at the doorway and there was the Grim Reaper. He was about 1.5 feet taller than the doorway. He was about 7 feet, maybe 7.5 feet. And he had the black coat, you know, and you couldn't see his face. And then on the wall next to me, like a real fast laser, but a fine laser, it showed 2 things. It was going like that so fast that it looks like a picture, whatever technology they had. And it showed 2 swords. It had a sword going down like this, but it looked like a lightning bolt, crooked like that, and went down like that. And it had a sword going up there that was straight. They were side by side, one going down, one going up. And they told me, telepathically, which sword are you going to choose, Ron? I said, I'm going to choose the straight sword. I guess that was a wise choice because the Grim Reaper didn't take me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was there. And he was right there. And that really happened, you know. So there's a lot of things I can go over and over, a lot of stories, true stories, but a lot of people might not believe me. That's all right. You know I lived through it.
I know, I feel the same way. One of the strangest things that ever happened to me in my life, I was here in Chatsworth. I went out to stay a long weekend with a friend. And I was up in the Box Canyon, in the canyons up here at the top of Chatsworth. And I had a younger friend that was staying with me. The two of us were staying with the people who owned the house. And they let us stay in their bedroom up at the high. It was a 3-tier house. I was staying at the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to get a couple of 6-pack of beer and go up on the roof and sit up on the roof and drink beer and look at the valley and a beautiful starry night. And so one night we were sitting on the roof having a beer and talking, and for some reason, I don't know why I did it. I just did it. I don't know why.
Did you jump off the roof?
No, I asked God. I said, Almighty God, if you can hear me, would you let a meteorite hit this mountain? And I pointed at the mountain. And as soon as I said that, a meteor, bam, hit the mountain. And all the lights went on because the whole mountain was shook. And I was scared because, and my friends...
Because you manifested it.
Yeah, and he said, what did you do? I said, I don't know. I just asked God, a meteor hit, and it hit right where I was pointing. I don't know what that meant. I don't know what it was about.
Well, maybe you were supposed to find out how powerful you are. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's so many stories like that.
Jordan, do you want to see your story about the ghost in San Diego?
Oh yeah, one night I was down in San Diego working on a book, and my editor lived in Orange County, and he would come up on the weekends and stay with me in my 2-bedroom condo to help me write the book. And he was in his bedroom, I was in mine about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was laying on my right side, and I heard, for some reason I woke up and I heard a fire. I could hear the crackling of a fire, and so I didn't open my eyes. For some reason I kept my eyes closed and concentrating to see if I could smell smoke. I wasn't smelling any smoke, I was hearing the fire. And I decided to open my eyes to see what was going on. When I opened my eyes, it scared me so bad. I jumped because it was an angel, a huge angel. His head was touching the ceiling, a big angel. And he had a sword in his hand, and the blade was no blade, it was a fire. It was a blade of fire. And he had that fire blade pointing right between my 2 eyes. That's what I was hearing when I was sleeping. And I woke up, and when I woke up, I jumped and yelled, and then the angel picked the sword up, held it in front of him, and then just slowly disappeared. Gone.
Wow.
And so my friend came in and said, what was all that about? I said, you're not going to believe what I saw in my bedroom. I saw an angel with a fiery sword, a sword of fire. He pointed at me between my 2 eyes. It scared me when I woke up.
No.
But now I know that the angel, was that Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Archangel Michael has a sword of fire.
Wow.
Lots of books that talk about that.
Yeah,
The
he
angel
goes
with the-
down into hell and fights the.
Yeah, and a lot of books talk about the angel, Archangel Michael. Not just an angel, an Archangel Michael
Wow.
with a sword of fire.
Wow.
I saw that sword of fire as pointing right between my two eyes.
Wow.
Yeah,
You should tell that story also, your friend with the hoof.
Oh yeah.
Tell him that story. Tell Robert that story.
I have an Armenian friend of mine who's a very successful real estate guy. And he moved in next door to me in my building. He moved in next door. So I ended up going over and talking to him all the time. And he was always asking me about the extraterrestrials. Because I was always talking to him about UFOs. And he was always asking me about extraterrestrials. And so one day I was talking to him and I said, why are you always worried about extraterrestrial? He said, because I've seen one. And I just wanted to get your opinion on it. He said, because I've seen them. He said, I was going hunting one morning up by Magic Mountain. I go up Mr. Magic Mountain on the 5 freeway. And he said, and off the off-ramp at Magic Mountain, I took off and we drove over up into the mountains. And when we got way up into the mountains, we come to a spot where there's an old fire station. The fire station is shut down now. And he said, well, as we were coming, we could see the fire station. As we were going up, we saw somebody walking along the side of the road that was tall, thin, and silvery, some kind of an outfit.
jumpsuit.
And he said, and as we pulled up behind him very slow, as he was walking, we pulled up slow, and he didn't have any feet, he had hoofs. And he was walking along the street with the hoofs, and we were following him very slowly. And he said, finally he turned around, stopped and turned around and looked at us, wanted to see who's following him. And he said, then he walked out in front of the car, because he's on the side of the road, he walked out in front of the car and stood looking at us, challenging us.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Who are you? What are you doing here?
We're sorry. We're sorry.
And he said,
We'll
he
go.
looked at us, challenging us.
Yeah, that was the devil. Or whatever people called Satan, the devil. And it's
Yeah, hoofs.
Yeah.
And he said, then he turned around and walked on across the street, and when he got to the other side, he stopped and turned around and looked at us. And he said, the look was, now you know, you've seen it, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to believe you.
Yeah, he said, he was looking at us like, what are you going to do about it? And we looked at him and knew this was not human, whatever it was, and we just drove slowly and drove off. And he said, so I could show you where we let him off and where he walked into the forest.
Wow.
It was right across the street from an old fire station that's been shut down. I would like to do that. And I called my friends to the television show, the UFO Hunters. That doctor, I know him. They're all friends of mine. All those guys on UFO Hunter television, I know them personally.
Okay.
So I called them, and the doctor said, he's in New York at the time. He said, I'm in New York right now. He said, but I'd like to go see this. I'd like to go there with your friend. Maybe I said, I'm not going alone. I'm not going here at night either. But if you want to come, I'll go with you. And I'll get my friend who told me the story and then get him to show you where this character went.
Wow.
Because it may be that he has more of whoever he is. He's got more family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so if we go back there, I'm not going by myself. And he said, I'd like to go with you if you want to go. But we never did yet. We haven't done it yet. But he's this Armenian guy. I'd like for him to show me. I'd like to try and go back there. But I don't want to go by myself.
Of course.
I want to go with Alien Hunter.
Leave those guys alone in the woods.
It's up in Box Canyon.
Oh,
it's
wow.
up in that canyon where Magic Mountain is.
Sure, up there. You gotta say the other story, Jordan, with the church people. When you were in Las Vegas,
Oh, yeah.
that story.
Yeah, I was born and raised a Catholic. And when I was about 7 or 8 years old, they have a special service in the Catholic Church for 8-year-old kids. It's called confirmation. A confirmation service is where you're confirmed at 8 years old, confirmed Catholic. I don't know how you can get an 8-year-old to be confirmed in anything.
Really?
So the teacher in my Catholic school said to us kids, she said, tomorrow night, all of you have to be at the church. Special service, special church service, just for you, all you children. And the bishop is coming from Mobile, Alabama. And he's going to be there, so you have to be there. And so the next night, she said, and after the service is over, maybe the bishop might possibly ask you if you have any questions about your religion. If you have any questions, just remember, you don't have any questions. You keep your mouth shut. And I thought to myself, my mother didn't even tell me to keep my mouth shut. Who was this to tell me that? So the next night, after the service was over, the bishop said, in point of fact, he said, if any of you children have any questions, I'll try and answer them. So I stood up, and I want everybody in this church to see who it is that's doing this. I want them to see me. And I said, yes, Bishop, I have a question. I said, my father works with torches, like a welder. Mm-hmm. And I said, and he lets me play with the torches once in a while to show me how dangerous they are. Mm-hmm. And I said, if I was standing here with a torch and it was burning, and an angel appeared to me, because the Bible says angels appear to people sometimes. Mm-hmm. If an angel appeared to me, could I hit him with the torch, and would it burn him, and would it hurt him? And he said, no. I said, why not? He said, because angels are spirits. You can't even see a spirit, much less burn one. And I said, well, why if I'm burning him? And he said, you can't burn a spirit. So I said to him, my question is, if I can't burn a spirit, why am I concerned about going to hell where my spirit will burn forever if you can't burn a spirit?
Very smart.
Yeah.
I said, get this one.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly what this priest that was standing next to me, the priest that was standing close, he said, sit down and shut up. Yeah. And I thought to myself,
you got a smart one here.
Yeah, yeah.
You got this kid who thinks too much.
Yep.
After that, I started putting pieces of Alka-Seltzer in the holy water.
Yeah. Jordan, the other story, you were in Las Vegas, and there was a construction company, they were Christians. And they go once a year, they go, yeah. That story. You want a cup of water or something, Jordan?
Huh?
You want a cup of water, 7-Up, anything?
Yeah.
Which one? Okay, 7-Up?
7-Up.
All right.
Cooler, please. Not too much.
There's only a can.
Yeah, I've forgotten that.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is a good one, man. This is a good one.
Like I've said, I've met so many people in my life.
Yeah.
So many different kinds of people who had different experiences and tell me things I've never heard before.
Right, right.
So I was in Las Vegas, I was on the radio.
Uh-huh.
I was being interviewed in Las Vegas. And I talked about reptilian gods, the reptile.
You were talking about that, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about on the radio.
Okay.
And so when I got home, I got a phone call. They called the station, and the station gave them my phone number. And the guy said, he said, I am a Christian. And I have 8 different people working for me in my office. They're all in my church. They're all Christians. They're in my church. And he said, I am a real estate developer. And I found out later this is a very wealthy man. He builds hotels. And he said, and once a year, thank you, dear. He said, once a year I take the 8 guys that are in my office and their families, and we go for a vacation somewhere. And I take them on a vacation. We all go together. And he said, so a couple of years ago, we all took off and were going on vacation to Colorado. And we went to an area called Valley of the Gods. And he said, and we were walking, all of us, we parked our car, walking along the edge of the mountain, and we looked down, and we could see a group of people that were in a circle. And they're all holding hands, and they were all moving back and forth, holding hands. And all of a sudden, he said, we were up in the mountain watching them. All of a sudden, inside that circle, we see another larger man, very big, pop up out of nowhere. He just pops up into the circle in the middle. And he's pointing at us. And he said, all the people in that circle stopped and they pointed up at us. We knew we'd been had. So he said, so we decided we better get out of here. He said, when we turned around to go, that big guy in the middle was behind us. That's how fast he moved. He was behind us. It was a reptile alien. He was like 7.5, 8 foot tall, reptile head, big head, the reptile. He said, and it scared everybody so bad, even the children didn't cry. Nobody could do anything. They were just frozen. And he said, and all this thing did is it looked at all of us. And he said that it looked at all the men. And he said the look on his face told us, I'm going to let you go, but you interrupted a ritual. You interrupted us. I'm going to let you go, but when I turn around and leave, you better get out of here now. And he said, we understood. So when we turned around and he's gone. And when he went, all the children started crying and screaming. The women were scared to death. Everybody was crying and screaming, and we got in the car and drove off. He said, so when we heard you today talking about reptile aliens, we know where one is. He's in Colorado. So we damn well know he's there because we saw him.
I like to share a story about
Go ahead, Robert.
reptilians. We were in front of Eva's house, and this guy named John came over, and he's more of a professional photographer.
Yeah.
And he likes to be around me because I bring things in that are extraordinary. He always says, everything that I bring in is always different. So he said they must have a production factory where they're always thinking of new things to bring up, right? So he's with me, and this benevolent looking craft, white, came by. We filmed it, and it went,
Wow.
right? But then this gray looking thing, it was shaped like a Chinese wonton. And it was going in a 360 as it was flying. And I was filming it, right? I was filming it. So I went home and I looked at it slowly, blew it up, and then took snips of the photos of the craft and then blew them up, and I said, wow, it was a reptilian ship.
Whoa.
And the whole ship, if you go on, for all the folks that are watching this, if they go on my YouTube website and look up the video called Wonton, because I named it Wonton, not only because that's what came to my mind, but you'll see the reptilian, because I blew up the photos and they turned the whole ship as a Skype. So as this going around looking at me, the whole ship as a Skype, I didn't know this till I blew it up and put it on the monitor and snipped it and all that. But they were looking at me with that kind of technology. You can see the reptilian, and he has an assistant. Like, you know how every king has like an assistant? And the assistant, the reptilian's looking at me with one eyebrow up. I kind of pissed, he's looking at me. And the assistant's going like this. He has a cap and he's going like this to his boss. This is the guy. You know, he was kind of pissed because I'm exposing everything about them.
Right.
So yeah, I caught it. So it's all real. Caught it on film, and that's what I like to say about the reptilians. But the reptilians, they came to see me one day. One day, I was visiting somebody else's event, and there was a woman and a man sitting on these director chairs, and they all had black outfits, and they were black hair with black shades, and they said, "Robert, yoo-hoo, come on." So I went up there and said, "What can I do for you?" "Oh, we just want to talk to you," the lady tells me. I said, "Are you people from the industry?" "Oh, no, we're not from the industry." I said, "Wow, you're both very good looking. If you're not, you should be." And so we're talking about stuff, and I wasn't really paying too much attention. And then she got her sunglasses and went down like this, and she had like eyes of a dragon, green emerald.
Wow.
Emerald green like jewels, but they had a snake slit pupils in them. She looking at me like this with her shades down to see what kind of reaction I would give her. So I did, and I had only a couple seconds to either say, "Oh, you're reptilians," or so I chose just not to recognize it at all and continue the conversation. And that didn't go nowhere, and so that was my reptilian experience I experienced with two individuals. They could have been men in black or women in black.
Sure.
I don't know, but they were all in black. They were flawless. These people were flawless. When you ever run into people that look flawless, then you gotta wonder, these are not normal people. Their clothes are not wrinkled, they don't have no lint, their hair is not out of place, and they're perfect, and you know you're dealing with something out of this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're out there. I could say that they're out there. I ran into a couple of reptilians, but I've learned one thing. I've learned to respect them and not say anything bad about them, because they are powerful beings, and I don't want to be held accountable for saying bad things about these powerful people or powerful beings, because they won't forget. So I don't say that they haven't harmed me. So I try to keep that fine line, and I tell people, don't say bad things because it might come back at you. They don't forget. They're there. They listen. So.
How about some of your encounters with the Men in Black, Robert? I know you have a lot of that.
Like I said, Men in Black, it came out in other shows, but they do have 1958 or '57 black Cadillacs that look like they just drove off the floor.
Brand
Brand new. Black Cadillac, like limousine black Cadillacs with 4 doors.
new. Yeah.
And they were black because they were parked in front of my house one time. Yeah, I stood there all night and I watched them.
Wow.
Oh my God, they exist. And one time I went to the liquor store when I was young, before I got into all UFOs, right?
Uh-huh.
And I used to be able to buy liquor or beer at 16, because I had a mustache and everything.
Yeah.
And I think they just wanted to make the money. So
Yeah, that didn't get back then.
well, anyway, I went in there and there was this black gentleman, and he was all in black. Immaculate. And I looked at him, and I kept looking at him, and he went like this to a thing, and he whipped out a card. And he gave it to me. He was a mortician, it said. But no, he was no mortician. He was a Man in Black. I knew it was extraordinary.
Wow.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was too perfect. That's what caught my eye. It was just too perfect.
Hmm.
And another time, when I was real young, we lived on this hill. And we lived in a spooky kind of hill. No lights, whatever.
Yeah.
Like the Addams Family, the monsters. We lived in this big hill. And so nobody hardly ever went up to there and knocked on the door, never. But one time my parents had went on vacation somewhere for a week, so I was there and my brother was in charge of me, kind of. And then this knock came at the door and I opened it and it was a Man in Black, a black suit. And he looked like, that actor that always goes
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. I remember the name.
Yeah, he got a weird voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he looked like him, and he said, are your parents home?" "Oh no." And then he left, and we never seen him again. But I knew he was, even though I didn't know about Men in Black or all that, I was only like 11 years old. I knew that he was like them.
Yeah.
You know, something extraordinary. I mean, either a dark angel or a light angel, but I thought it was a dark angel.
Yeah. And Robert, at what age did you find out you can communicate with UFO, or how that all started for you, if you remember that, or how did you find out you can do that?
Well, as a kid, I would go to the library, and I wasn't drawn to books like Tom and Jane or Wyatt Earp or any of those that the other kids picked. You know?
Yeah.
I was always drawn to the books about aviation, about airplanes and missiles and supersonic stuff that wasn't even existing in this. I mean, they were on the drawing board in the 60s. For some reason, I wanted to know about that, you know, about an F-4 Phantom, how much munitions it carries, what kind of munitions, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to know about that at an age of 8 or 7. And that was unusual, I think, when my teacher would say, you know, "All right, tell us about your book, Robert." At the age of about 15, I saw my first UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not my second UFO. It was a cigar-shaped, amber-colored cigar-shaped.
And you were into UFOs, or back then?
I guess I've always was interested in just anything up in the air.
Oh, right.
So when I looked at this Piper Cherokee coming, seeing wind coming by, I always look at him. And then behind him, way up higher, was this amber-looking cigar-shaped thing, very still, but it must have been huge because it was a lot higher. You know? And it was even bigger than the single engine thing. So I looked at it and I said, UFOs are real. Confirmation, they're real. I'm looking at one, they're real. So I went down to my friend's house and I told him what I just experienced. And then, years later, I'm living in this boarding house, right? And I'm living in this small little place, man. And then the next room, this guy, Trini, was living there, but he's moving out. And the manager came and says, "Hey, Trini's moving out. You interested?" I said, "Yeah, I told you I was." It was twice as big as where I was staying, or 3 times bigger. Same rent. So, yeah. So when this lady that's very nosy was finished looking at it, he came and called me and I went in there. No, she was in there with him. And I said, "I'll be back later, Jaime." And it was a spooky night because the wind was blowing the curtains. We were on the second floor and they had a balcony. The doors were open. And I said, "Tonight, Jaime, we're going to see an alien." And then I went back to my room and I said to myself, "Why did I say that? I don't know why I said that." But so I called me and I went over there to check out the place, and I was in the closet looking at how much space I had for the closet and little things, you know.
Yeah.
And he's out on the balcony and I can hear him saying, he's from Guatemala, and he's saying, "Robert, there's a alien coming down the street." And I said, "Hey, stop fooling around, Jaime. Stop fooling around, man. I'm trying to see what I'm going to get, you know." "No, Robert, come out here. An alien coming down the street." I said, "All right, I'm going over there." And because he didn't know English very well, he met a UFO coming down the street. At our second floor, there was a UFO coming down the street at our level.
Wow.
And it was diamond faceted, the whole craft, and it was about from here, say, to the picture, maybe longer, to the tree.
Mm-hmm.
But it was coming down our street at our level. We're on the second floor. And it's coming down the street. Now, the fascinating thing about it was that there was a 40-mile-an-hour Santa Ana wind blowing, And this UFO was not affected. It was like not affected at all. It was coming down like it was on a monorail, same speed, coming right by us, coming right by. When it got in front of me, out there, when it was up the street, it looked black. Like black diamond and faceted with no windows, all diamond facets.
Uh-huh.
When it got in front of me, it looked like a navy gray, like a battleship gray.
Hmm.
And then it whipped around the corner and it went over the house.
Wow.
And so that happened.
Wow.
Jaime was shook up, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next day I took Adrian, my girlfriend's grandson,
Mm-hmm.
fishing at Lincoln Park, and I'm sitting there and I said, man, I'm gonna try something. Since I called that one and it came, I'm gonna try it right here.
Ah.
And Adrian's a little kid, he's only about that big, he's got his pole and teach him how to fish. I said, Adrian, you want me to bring in a UFO? You wanna see a UFO? Yeah, I wanna see a UFO. So telepathically, I told them to show one, and I wanted to go like a computer cursor to dance around the sky. Like if you got a computer, you
Oh,
go
sure.
like that with a mouse, that thing would go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that. So there it comes, and there's white puffy clouds, and it's dancing around, just like I told it to. And Adrian's looking at it. He's only a little 4-year-old kid. And so I did that, and I said to myself, wow, I got this ability. So from then on, I was almost doing it every day.
Wow.
And I was taking pictures every day.
Yeah.
Did you know why it was happening to you?
Well, you remember I had said that the government tried to tell me that they put alien DNA in my mom's, where I was in my mom's stomach.
Yeah.
The government trying to tell me that that's what they did and that's why I have this gift. There's many reasons why I have this gift, but
Mhm.
that's what the government was trying to tell me. So I didn't know whether they're trying to mislead me
Right.
on that or that was the truth. Another one is I died and I went to see Jesus and I left a part of my ethereal body on the other side when I died,
Mm.
where Jesus is at or wherever the other side, beyond the veil.
Mm-hmm.
I left that ethereal body over there, and I'm here now, and that one's still there.
Gotcha.
You haven't seen the photo of the ethereal body?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you got to tell Jordan about that too.
Okay, I was doing a talk in San Diego, and there was about 350 people, I think, or somewhere around there. And I did a 2-hour lecture.
What?
I did a 2-hour lecture,
Yeah.
and I had a PowerPoint presentation, and it's giving me crap. And I had a 2-hour presentation, and all of them were, I assumed, were Stephen Greer's fans, you know. And I really don't care for that, man. And so I said, how many Stephen Greer fans are there here? And everybody raised their hand. I go, oh my God. So I said, all right, it's a Q&A, and this woman stuck up her hand. I said, yes, what would you like to tell me? She goes, what do you think about Stephen Greer? And I looked at her like, oh my God. So anyway, I told them about a 5 or 10 minute thing. I didn't say it on him, but on the UFO community itself.
Right.
And that the fox was watching the hen house. And the government loves it. That's the way they have it set up.
Mm-hmm.
And
So somebody took a picture of you, right?
so Alma Rowling took a picture of me with like a little stick going like this to a photo that I took of a UFO that was translucent. And you can see my shadow on the screen, but next to me is me, my ethereal self, who's much bigger and much better shape, and it's all black, like a shadow. And you can see my body coming through him.
Oh, I seen the picture.
Yeah. It was like that. It was at my ethereal self. But I had a government agent had told me, he was probably the first one that told me that my body was on the other side and it's over here too. He was the first one to give me a clue like that. And then this happened, and then other things happened. So I'm here and I'm there. So this way here, I could tell them what to do over there.
Yeah.
That's why I'm able to stop disasters around the world.
Yeah, tell them some about some of that stuff.
I have a friend, her name is Veronica, and she's very high up in the FEMA. And so she speaks to governors, senators, congressmen, mayors, and she flies to different disaster points around the world. So one day she tells me, Robert, how are you doing? I go, all right. She goes, man, they're deploying me. They're deploying me. I go, when? She told me. She goes, I don't want to go. She has some spooky feeling that she wouldn't make it back to the building. Said, okay, you don't want to go, okay? You won't go. I won't let it happen. So she says, what do you mean? I go, well, I have, Veronica, you have good friends in high places, but I have friends in higher places. And I said, you won't go. So I told my friends out there then to dissipate the disaster that was about to happen, like a typhoon or a hurricane or something. I forget what it was. And so they did. And so when Veronica said, she said she was boarding the plane and she got a call from FEMA and they said, get off the plane. And she didn't go. So I stopped that disaster, and so I kept on stopping them. I did about 45 different types of disasters around the world. The two volcanoes that happened, lava flows that happened in Hawaii, I quelled them. I quelled them. Plus I diverted the lava. They were headed toward villages and toward utility places, and the lava flow diverted. So she knows that I did all that, right? But she says, if you keep on doing that, Robert, we'll be out of a job.
But she asked you to do all this stuff?
No, after that, she's asked me for a few of them.
Yeah.
And, but after that, when I hear of something really bad, I do it myself. I don't even wait for her to call me. So one time she called me and said, something happened. I go, what happened? She goes, that hurricane, Robert. I go, I know, I stopped it, right? She goes, yeah. She goes, but I'm in command headquarters inside a mountain. And we're getting a satellite visual of the hurricane. And she said, this is the first time that this happened. I go, what happened? She goes, something flew over the eye of the hurricane, dropped like a white thing in it, and it dissipated the whole hurricane. I said, those are my friends up there. They did that. She said, well, we got it on tape.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I did some...
But they don't want to show it to nobody.
No, I did some real miracles, right?
Wow, yeah.
Real miracles.
Yeah.
There was a guy named Mark Guzman who lived next door to me. His brother came over and he saw, I had a picture about this big right here. On the coffee table, and he came over to fix a water leak in the bathroom, and he saw my picture of a UFO, and he goes, hey, can I see that? He goes, yeah, look at it. He goes, my brother's all into UFOs, can I tell him? He lives here in the building. I didn't know who he was. And he came, and I started telling Mark about the things, and then I showed him, and Mark's a dental hygienist, but his eyes got like big, you know, and when I showed these people, their eyes get, because they're all staunch Catholics, right?
Yeah.
So I rock their world with this stuff, right? And they get like, I've seen the women, some of them that came to see what I do, they're like shocked. So I told them that I knew Stanton Friedman and that they spoke to Stanton Friedman about the remodification of the human cell and in order to defeat all the viruses. And I told Stanton Friedman about the ultimate alternative fuel cell. And he said that he had reached out and spoke to Stanton Friedman, but Stanton Friedman sent him an email with his letterhead on it, and it stated, Dear Mark Guzman, I have come to know that you are involved with Mr. Robert Bingham. Please be advised that Robert Bingham's work keep a tight lid on it if you were to know anything about his work. Because if word were to come out that you didn't keep a tight lid on this, then it would be found very unfavorable for you. And it said, and he kept on going. He says, Robert Bingham's work has been found. No, it said the National Science Foundation finds most people's work not credible, but Robert Bingham's work has been found very credible. Again, if you were to find out anything about it, here's this number and call us. And remember that if we're to get out to corporate America or the military, it would be found very unfavorable for you. Telling Mark's all shook up. Here, look at this email. I said, Mark, I told Mark, Mark, I told you, man, you thought I was lying when I said that things like that, that's the kind of realm I'm in.
Yeah.
But you thought I was playing and joking. No, I wasn't playing and joking. Because Mark used to come to me and say, hey man, the helicopter's over our house, our apartment building 24 hours a day. It never used to be like that till you moved in. And then I said to him, wow, you can look at it as a bad thing, or you could look at it as a good thing. You got the safest apartment building around.
Yep.
So I have the email still.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking of going public with the email. Yeah, because,
Why not?
yeah, why not? Nobody's ever doing anything too much for me out there.
Have you ever seen on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
the videos that were taken in Moscow of something called Slender Man?
Never heard of it, Jordan.
Slender Man.
Slender Man, okay, in Moscow.
Moscow.
What's that all about?
It's about maybe 10 stories high. This creature that's so thin.
I saw that.
A little, you've seen
Like a
him?
spider.
Huh?
Like a spider climbing
That's
up
right.
this building.
Right.
Is it real?
Like a spider,
Yeah.
but he's 10 stories high.
He's
Like
like
a
a,
little thin, skinny little
like a spider.
body.
You ever see
like a
those
spider.
long-legged spiders?
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see him crawling up like a spider on the side of buildings. And he crawls up on the roof and rolls, and you can see him walking on the roofs like a spider.
Oh,
And he's
wow.
called Slender Man.
I will look into that. Definitely.
Yeah, you
That's
can
really
look it up.
incredible.
Yeah. That Mothman they talk about, is that real?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
would say it's real. There's a lot of things that people don't know about. That
Sure.
Vampires are out there. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of real things. A lot of people. It's because most people want to live in their little bubble.
Yeah. Very true.
You know, they live in this protected bubble.
Very true.
My job, and I'm sure Jordan's job, is to pop that bubble and say, hey, boop.
Yeah.
See the big picture now?
By the way, Jordan's story was talking about when they were at a little alien, that little hotel that they experienced. That. It's on YouTube. Jordan's getting interviewed, and that guy was still shaking. This wasn't too long ago. And the room number is 6.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I saw it the other day, Jordan.
Did you see it?
I saw you and what's his name?
And
Yeah.
Paul Tights.
Yeah, and they took him in that hotel room. He was shaking. He didn't want to go inside.
But you know, one day I was in my that room that I switched. I was sleeping on this big bed, and I felt something like this, and I've never felt this before. It was so soft, but something I never touched before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, this could be a black widow,
Oh no.
and because it rolled off my back,
Oh.
it rolled off the back of my head.
Yeah.
This could be alien technology, right?
Okay.
I got out of my bed, and this black thing began to fly. So it looked like a black bumblebee. And I was flying, and I said, So I got my Times newspaper, the front section, and I rolled it up like a bat. I rolled it up like a bat.
yeah.
And I had the window open, we had a screen. I had a screen.
Uh-huh.
That son of a gun saw me roll it up like a bat, and he took off toward the screen and went right through the screen. And I went up to the screen and it had a perfect hole like him, the size of him. He went right through the screen. Boom.
Wow.
Broke off.
Wow.
Perfect hole throw. Yeah. It saw me roll up that thing, and even when whatever it was, his technology or whatever, alien technology, it didn't let me get him.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was real. I never felt that kind of material. It's very, very soft.
Incredible.
It's incredible, the feel of it.
What a technology.
Yeah.
What a technology.
Yeah, and when I saw me roll up that thing, and it took off. Like, it put on the afterburners and went right through my screen. I'd like to thank all you viewers for watching this video. This is a great great moment where two people like Jordan and myself get to express ourselves and explain the things that happened to us throughout our journey doing UFO stuff. Thank you again. You're witnessing the truth come out of two similar UFO people, and thank you again.